right, welcome to another episode of Botox and Burpees. I have with me probably the person that I have spoken to the most in my entire life on podcasts, and that is coach and owner David Syvertsen. Um, so this is the inaugural episode of the Bison 15, which is sort of the name that I've put on it. If you have a better idea what to call it, let me know. Basically, it's a quick hitting. We're going to try to keep it to 15 every time about a single topic, something that is interesting, personal, and fitness related. So I think most of us know David well, and if you don't, look him up, check him out. He is owner and coach at CrossFit Bison, the gym that I've been at for 14 years. And so let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
Let me explain. Let David explain what the topic is, and then start right away.
Yeah. I didn't really want to go into like a life story, CrossFit star story. Those are really interesting, but I just feel like mine isn't. So I would say one perspective I can bring, because I know you're going to interview a lot of different people that a lot of people can't echo. They can't echo what I'm going to talk about here. It's the different stages of being a gym owner. And CrossFit Bison ownership technically started in 2012, 2013. We opened in 2014. We just opened up another gym a little over a year ago. And I reflect on it all the time, A, to make things better, B, to make sure my life is set up the way I want it to be set up, of all these different stages and the mistakes that you make along the way and how they can improve things for your life, the gym's life, the people that work for the gym, and the people that pay to go to the gym. You have to kind of know what stage you're in and what you can do to improve that. And I've just have done a lot of reflecting on that, especially over the last 2 to 3 years as things have changed there. My role has changed there. And I do think there's some interesting nuggets in there that we can dive into, but within 15 minutes. Don't drag it on, Dave.
I agree. We'll do our best. I would say this is relevant for a lot of people, not just who own gyms, but who go through life. Like, there are different stages. And even as an athlete, I'm pretty sure anyone who's been fitnessing for a couple years can go through different stages and sort of transition. And if you've ever had a business, a job, anything where you've been putting a lot of your time, effort, and focus on, you yourself might see these same stages apply to you in your life as well.
Absolutely.
So let's go
So
for it.
yeah, let's go for it. I think phase one, we're all in this phase at some point. It could be your fitness, the physique you're pursuing, the competitive goals you're pursuing, or a business, career, whatever. And it's the dreamer. And the dreamer is someone who wants the thing, right? But you don't know exactly how to get there. You just know what you want. I remember looking at spaces in 2012 and 2013 because I left my job thinking we were going to open up in 2 weeks, and 18 months later, we still weren't open. But I remember looking in spaces and dreaming of what it would be like the colors, the barbells, the noise, the dozens of people you would have in your gym on week number 2, right? Like you just dream and dream and dream. But the negative behind the dreamer, it's to quote Rudy, there are dreamers and doers. And everyone is a dreamer at some point, but very few turn into doers. And when you start a business, this is why a lot of businesses, statistically, they don't make it past 2 years. A lot of them don't make it past a year because at some point you realize you really didn't know what you were doing. And in some ways, that's an advantage. You don't know what you don't know. And you just wake up and you get the job done that day. You wake up, you do it again. But the repetitiveness and the relentless kind of feel to, especially owning a gym that's open 363 days a year, as early as 5 a.m. back in the day, as late as 9:30 p.m. You just have to kind of move forward every single day. And that's where you become a doer or you don't, and the place closes down. And those days, it's almost like having a baby where you're so kind of away from reality. You just don't even know what the next day is going to bring, the next hour, but you just chip away like a long CrossFit workout, 1 rep at a time, like Murph tomorrow, right? 1 rep at a time, you'll eventually get there. And that is where I think you really do kind of earn your stripes as an owner of a business or someone that's pursuing a specific goal with their weight loss or their physique, right? It's you prove it to yourself in that first year, and you start becoming a doer rather than just a dreamer.
Let me ask you this. So like you said, in some ways it's an advantage that you actually don't even know this Herculean task that you're about to undertake. Um, is there anything in retrospect that you wish you had known in terms of not like all the details, but like in terms of the effort? Because, or or is it literally just better, just that you didn't know and you just had to handle it?
I'll tell you what, if someone said, if Ash and I wanted to move to a different state, let's say Texas, I've had someone down there saying you got to move down to Texas and open up a CrossFit down here. I don't think I could do it again. I don't think I could start a gym from scratch again because I know what's coming and I know how hard it is. You're getting home at 9:30, 10, eating dinner, waking up at 3:34, hoping people come to the gym. You constantly feel like you're selling. There's a lot of stress associated with it. And I wouldn't want to go back and know what's coming. So I really wouldn't change much because as hard as it was, I do think it adds that's where you learn how to run a gym. That's where you learn how to program, how to scale things, how to set up the gym, how to set up a staff, how to program, how to schedule. So I don't regret anything about the past, but I don't think I could do it again. So to answer your question, I really wouldn't want to take myself now, go back to 2014 and tell Dave how to do it. I'd rather him just learn it on his own because I do think that's the best way to kind of raise the bar at that gym.
I mean, the other question I have for you is that you basically burnt your boats at the shore. Like you quit your job. You had literally no backup options. Is either this gym was going to work for you or you're going to like have to start a job seeking process all over again. So
Absolutely, yeah.
in retrospect, was that the way that you have to kind of get these endeavors going? Because if you have a backup option where like if it got too crazy, you could just kind of like slip out the side door, you like was that what forced you to actually succeed in this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it also comes down to in belief in what you're selling, belief in the product. Like I knew CrossFit, I knew Bison would work well enough. I never at any point, even when we've had bad months and bad years and bad quarters, I've never thought it wouldn't work. So that was, yes, a burn the boat type feel. But I also think it's important to know that it had a lot of support from my family, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, right? Like if there was a lot of combating there where there just wasn't belief in me, right? Because you do go back and forth with how much you believe in yourself, right? You could talk about burning the ships and I'm going to get there no matter what. You have self-doubt. I had self-doubt, but when you have those group of people, that tight-knit circle around you, especially family and people you live with that are constantly there through good times and bad, it is a little easier to know that there are better days coming. And I don't think I've ever lost that belief when I was in that dreamer stage, when you're there 7 days a week, early in the morning, late at night, is that if you really do believe in it and the people around you believe in it, it does make it a lot easier to get through any sort of rough time.
What was the next stage after the dreamer stage?
So the growth hiring stage, right? And this is where you're getting to a point where there is enough money to come in to pay people to also coach classes or do some other secondary type work. And we've made a few kind of like hiccups. Chris and I made a few mistakes early on of like who to bring in and what to do because you're just pursuing anything that's going to enhance the product. But again, you're also learning on the fly. So no regrets there. But the growth hiring stage is now like both members and staff. You have more people, which offers a lot more help, a different version of yourself, meaning like you wouldn't want me coaching every single class or Chris coaching every single class back in the day. Eventually, you want a different flavor in front of the room. So you bring more people in that have traits that I'm not good at or traits that I struggle with or Chris struggled with. So more people. You also get more members. You need more members. If that doesn't happen, the business is not going to work. With more members and more people come more responsibility. And I hate to say it, more problems. More people, that without a doubt equals more problems. So that's like that next stage of how do you manage that, right? That's when the storms, if you will, if you want to keep that ship's analogy going, that's when the storms start to come. The boat starts rocking left and right, up and down. You can't always predict things. You can't control things the way you used to. And how you manage that, you're still steering the ship, but you can't control every turn. That's where that was that next stage. That's where it burns out or it really gets people knowing, all right, do I want to do this as a full-time career or do I want this to be something that is on the side? Because that's something that just adds another layer of work, responsibility, and yeah, stress.
So you went, and I remember this also, like from handling everything from soup to nuts to now also starting to manage people. And like you said, because you hired them, let me ask you, now that you've hired a bunch of people, if you had to give me one thing, I know there are probably like 5 or 6 things you really think about, but what is the number one thing that worked to help you figure out who to hire?
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about that a lot over the years. We still
Yeah,
talk about it to this day,
all the
right?
time.
And I think I have settled on, if I had to say, there are 5 answers probably, but if I had to settle on one, it's truly people that are there for others more than they are there for themselves. And they're glad to sacrifice the pull-up bar during Murph tomorrow so that someone else can have it. They're glad to cut their workout short so they can hang the American flags in the gym. And like, again, that's fresh in my memory because I know Adam Ramsden did that today for Liz. Like, Adam didn't have to do that, but he usually helps Liz out. And that's a trait that Adam has, that now that we also often use him as a poster boy for what we look for trait wise. And he's a good example of someone, and that is just, he's always there for other people. Now he comes and works out by himself. He does his thing. He is there to escape his own, stress of life and get his release. But his base layer is that he is there to really enhance the place, which at the end of the day is just to make it better for other people. And that's why I like to watch people operate at Bison as a member in an ideal world for a year or two, because anyone can fake it for a short amount of time. But the more time, the more situations, 2 trips around the sun with the open, how they act, good days and bad, how they act when they're injured, how they act when they have stress in their life. Does it really have a negative impact on the gym? Like, can you feel that negative energy, or do you know they can overcome it and say, hey, I have a responsibility here to make it better for everyone else, member or not, our coach or not. And I would say that that's the underlying trait. Do they make it better for other people? Do they feel like it's an actual responsibility?
What number coach was Ramsden as a hire? Was he
It was Liz, Terry, Storms. I think he was number 4.
wow, that's pretty.
If you're not going to include myself, Chris, and Ashley, who were
Yeah.
like kind of the OG coaches of the place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Early win on that one. There you go.
Yes. Yeah. That was, again, and I really do think, like, even our recent hires, I kind of always hold, Liz and I talk about this all the time when we talk about prospective coaches. It's like you kind of hold certain people, like that's the barometer. And that's a really tough barometer to chase. But when someone reaches that barometer, odds are it's going to work out.
All right. After the growth hiring, what's the next phase after that?
Delegation. And this is where to this day, I do feel like I'm improving here, but I've been a little slow on this. I've struggled. I have it written down that this is like handing off roles and, quote, your baby to others while maintaining control to a point. So it could be coaching classes. It could be next level program. It could be training people's teenagers and kids, all these things, right? I would say nobody knows how much you've put into it since the beginning, and they don't need to, right? We all have our own personal things that the world doesn't need to know, right? But I did view the gym as a long time as like my kid, and to a point I still do. I feel like it's in the teenager going into college phase where you kind of have to like let it go a little bit, but you still reel it in when you need to. You still have an idea of what's going on. And part of that is having other people who also have other things going on in their life. Most of them, this is not their full-time job. They have a full-time job and kids and a mortgage, all that, where you have to kind of hand off this responsibility to them, knowing it's not their top priority. It's similar to hiring a babysitter. Ash and I, our first time giving a babysitter for Brock and us going out for a dinner, we didn't even have fun because you're kind of worried. You feel like you did something wrong. You feel guilty in a way. And, no one's going to care after your kid the way you do. Now, I've watched people's kids before, and it's very stressful to the point where you watch them like a hawk, but it's not the same. When you're on the other side of it, it's no different than the gym. Like when I'm sleeping at night and feeling great, do I really know that the people there are like really, having a conversation with the new person? They're reaching out to someone that left the gym a month or two ago. Or it's not really, they don't really care as much, right? And they don't need to. It's not their business, but that's been tough for me, but at some point you have to trust the people that are there and the people that you have hired and the loyalty factor, because we showed loyalty to them and we've gotten a lot of loyalty back as well. And I don't take that for granted. So that's the next stage of gym ownership.
It's funny because we've gone to CrossFit affiliate seminars, and they've said in a very dispassionate sort of analytical business way, if you can't walk away from your business and have it still run, you haven't built your business properly. And when I first heard it, I said that makes total sense. But then on the other hand, I also feel like that is also not. I'm starting to turn a little bit. I don't think that's always the best way to think about your business. Like, um, not you're not like stupid private equity where you're just like learning, like ready to turn over a business and flip it and somehow like make a profit. Like you said, if you built a business, like your intrinsic DNA, your mindset, who you are is built into that business. And there's
Absolutely.
no way, if you really legitimately built a business on your own, that it's going to be the same if you walk away or you're there.
Right.
And I've seen that, especially at CrossFit Bison. But like you said, the key is to be able to trust. I see you, Brock. How are you, Brocky? I see you um finding that balance, which is a very difficult balance.
It
And
is.
and I think the key to that has been you've been forced to do that, right? So you have a son, you have other responsibilities and obligations, and before that it was like competing and which you still do on a high level. So you have other priorities, which now you have to sort of navigate how much can you do this and still do something else. And
Yeah.
so let me ask you, now that you've been doing more sports with Brock, who I see right behind you,
Yep.
this is what I'm talking about, priorities,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to balance it. Like you're on a podcast, but you also have your son that you have to manage. And so what is one tip that you can give me about handling that?
Oh man. I mean, these are the conversations I have in my head the most right now. So I don't want to come across as the know-it-all, but I will say that, man, I don't know if this is going to apply, but I know deep down where the head's at and where my
Mm-hmm.
heart is, where my
Mm-hmm.
priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a perception thing, Brock,
Mm-hmm.
stop. I
So,
know there's a perception
mm-hmm.
that is I've heard that I've had this said to me, and it's not in a combative way at all. It's, oh, you're not around as much anymore. I'm like,
Of course.
like it's partially true. I just also go at times. Like these are people that come in the morning a lot that I've been working out at night a lot. So those people are saying, oh, I notice you're here at night more. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's nice to hear. People in the morning, like, you're not here as much. I'm like, well, there's the other, 80% of the day that I do
Mm-hmm.
show up for there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a perception that you want people to know you're still involved and you're still passionate about it. And
Mm-hmm.
you still want to do everything you can to make it the
Mm-hmm.
best possible place in the world for people to exercise and find others. But there are objective things that keep me from going as much as I used to. And one of them is this guy that's kind of holding on to my arm right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I sleep well at night.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where, and that's an internal thing where when I listen to people talk, you can kind of tell that if I was someone that didn't want to go as much, but I
Mm-hmm.
wanted the perception that I went,
Mm-hmm.
I would be stressing about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like I know I do as much as I can to get there whenever I can, whether it's to help a coach put away boxes at night and set up
Mm-hmm.
for the next morning,
Yes.
whether it's to move my workout schedule around, or I try to cover for different times. For this, I could easily hire someone to coach that,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to go see those people I haven't coached in a while. And those are the things that I know, again, that I do that I don't need to announce to the world, but that helps me at night know that I'm putting my best foot forward, both as a father, as a husband, and
Mm-hmm.
as a gym owner.
So you use an internal barometer, regardless of
Yep.
what people say or like the
Yep.
comments you get. If you
Yep.
know personally that you are trying your best to balance it and doing your best for that, and you can
Yep.
sleep at night,
Yep.
you're good.
Yeah. And that's why like my stress levels are there with everyone, but it's
Mm-hmm.
never, am I doing enough for the gym? I've never, ever had to question that. And I'm proud of that.
Okay. Next stage.
Next stage is the last one, and we're talking, okay? Being an owner versus employee, okay? So this is where, and balance and the mix of the two. So at some point, this is something I took away from that seminar we went to is, do you own a business or do you own a job? And that was a line that stuck with me. It's like, I actually am like, asked myself in that moment, like, do I actually own a gym or do I own a job? And does it really matter? Not necessarily. Again, it's kind of internal, my internal barometer. But what's hard about this is You have to balance friendships with business,
Mm.
and they often contradict each other. We can bring up money. I mean, that's the thing that everyone needs to talk about, right? I mean, how many people do at some point control how much money you bring home to your family, but you also control how much money everyone else brings home to their family? And where do you draw the line? You can come up with equations and algorithms that AI can generate for you, or you can ask other gym owners, but your bills are your bills and their bills are their bills, and their relationships, they're there. And these are raw relationships. And we've known some of these people, us included, for over a decade now. And there are good times and bads with any relationship that lasts that long. And it's a struggle to really come up with the objective policy of how you pay people and how much you pay yourself and how much you dish out for the gym versus dish out to employees, right? And the members of our community deserve new equipment when stuff starts to break down, but the coaches of our community, who are the rock stars of the place, who really are the wheels that we really drive on, they deserve money, they deserve raises, they deserve the opportunity to make more money. And you also go hang out with each other on the weekends, or your kids are hanging out with each other. And it's tough. That's one thing that kind of sucks about being a gym owner, that you don't have an equation that falls out of thin air and says, this is what everyone takes home. You have to decide that. And there's a blend of selfishness to it and also selflessness to it, that you have to kind of be good at balancing. Because if you don't, a lot of people leave. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that Don Fall and Austin Maliello said this to us when they came out to the announcement. At that point, 10 years in, we've never lost a coach. And the roles and the people that have lost the coach now have kind of just left either CrossFit or left the community, not on bad terms. And that to me says we're doing it right, because as things get busier with people's lives, they're not just leaving at some point unless other life circumstances get in the way. It's not, hey, they're not taking care of me enough. And so that's a really tough thing to do. And I think a coach can relate to that, right? When you coach a class and a friend is in your class and they're being disruptive, how do you respond to it? Can you tell them to shut up, or are you afraid it's going to affect your Friday night plans? So that's pretty stuff. That's pretty hard stuff to deal with. And that's where, when I talk to current gym owners that have been doing this for over 10 years, that's the burnout stage. It's that you have a relationship, but you don't know how real it is, because it's partially dependent on the business, right? When someone leaves the gym that's been with you for 10 to 12 years, or, whatever, it could be 5 years, they leave the gym and now all of a sudden you don't talk anymore. It's like, oh, well, was that a real friendship? So now you start questioning, are my other friendships real, or is this just a business transaction?
That makes me think about a couple things. It is really hard to work. Like, most businesses don't, like, there are some businesses that have their friends involved, but most CrossFit gyms that I know of have a lot of close relationships with the people involved, like the coaches. And anytime you try to make a change in that as you get bigger, there's always that accusation that you don't care as much. And let's face it, there are other people that naturally try to take advantage of the fact that you are friends. And
Absolutely.
so drawing that line between friendship and also, like, what, quote, doing the right thing as a business, or to make your business better is really hard. And I would say, the first thing I would want to ask, well, the first thing is I want to say an anecdote. So the first thing I was thinking about is, like, as a coach or someone who has a friend in class, like, it was really funny. Sasha has been around a little bit this summer before she's left, and she was going to post a picture of her and Susan doing a workout together, and she was doing thrusters in it. And I saw the post or the video, and I was like, the squat was like maybe 2 inches short. Like, listen, her mobility, she can squat to the ground, and she was just, like, tired. She was moving really hard. Like, it was a tough workout. But I was like, do I say something or do I say nothing? And I chose at that point to say, like, maybe, like, the thruster depth was like this. And I don't think she was very happy with me. And she ended up, I don't think she posted it because, in part, she was pissed. But on the other hand, like, I couldn't let her not know, like,
Right. Yeah.
just because
You did the right thing there.
I would want to know if I was,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So some of it is like, if I'm on the other side of it, I might take offense, but I also want to know, like, if we truly are friends, that you're doing it from a good
Yeah.
place in your heart. And I
Yeah.
think that so but what do you do when, let's suppose, and so give me a tip when you have friends, and we've talked about this, because when you grew, you brought on additional investment and additional partners, right? So it was Adam
Yep.
Hawkinson, Mike DeSilva, and
And
me to help.
yep.
um but then sometimes standard business practices are things that we discuss, but then there are also, like you said, considerations that are personal, that are long time connections. Like, what is the number one thing you think about if you have to make a decision about revenue versus say something that is personal?
Good question. I think the first thing I would say is most people can't do it. I'm just like, from my experience, most people can't separate friendship and business. Some people can. So there is hope out there. But it can develop, like just like everything. You can't do a muscle up when you start CrossFit, but you can develop traits that eventually get you there. So when it comes to advice on what you just asked, I would challenge everyone, and this could be applied to so many different areas of your life, is to really try hard when you're on the offensive side, meaning you want to tell someone you didn't squat low enough, right? Try the hardest you possibly can, that if you were on the other side of that, how would you react? And not just what you would think, because you can't expect others to read your mind. That's not fair. How would you actually outwardly react? That if someone came to you and said, like, hey, in the middle of a workout or in the middle of an emotional state, your elbows aren't getting through, your chin didn't get over the bar, your elbows didn't lock out, you didn't extend on a burpee, and try to put yourself in that scenario and pretend, like play, make pretend. I do this all the time. I play out situations in my head all the time, to the point where Ash is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, sorry, I was in a different world for a sec. But how would you react to that? And be as real as possible, because you're not trying to impress anyone when you're just playing a game inside your head. How would you actually react? And I think that's something you can train yourself to do. And it makes you feel a little bit better about being on the offensive side. So that, and if you truly say like, hey, I would actually want to hear that. I even now, it's up to the other person to deliver it correctly. Like if you went to Sasha, started belittling her and making fun
Yes.
of her, that's a bad job by you. But if I came to you the next Bison workout saying like, you're not squatting all the way down, like I'm not putting RX next to your name on the board, how would you react? And be real. Only you do know how you would react, and there's a self-control component to that.
How dare you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes,
Yeah,
no,
I would be I mean, I'd be embarrassed but thankful. Let's put it that
yeah,
way.
and exactly. So if you feel that way, I think you should feel fine about being on the offensive side to it. And I can look, instead of always talking about Sasha or other people, like our ownership group, it's been a couple years now, we've definitely had like some real arguments with each other, like through text, through Zoom, in person, like shouting, right? And you don't always like those moments, and you need some time to step away from them. But at the end of the day, I think that you come back and be like, hey, I needed to hear that, or he needed to hear that. And if we all have the same goal, if you and Sasha have the same goal of just, being fit and being mobile and doing things the right way, there really can't be this thing that explodes the relationship. If it does explode the relationship, if that's what you're truly afraid of, I think it's better to rip the Band-Aid off and just say it's not real. It's not a real relationship. Like if you and I got into an argument about, what we should do with the extra $4,000 we have, and we fight and all of a sudden we can't talk to each other, then look, it's not a real relationship, because we've been through a lot together. We've talked a lot to each other. I think we want the same goals for the business, for ourselves as we grow. And that should always kind of circle back to, that is the goal. I don't need a self-esteem boost from Sam every 2 weeks, and vice versa. But we do need to kind of make sure that we're pushing each other. And to be pushed, this is why I'm jealous of NFL coaches and Nick Saban, these guys. They can really get after someone and know that that guy's not leaving. Because, whether it's college education, whether they're trying to get to the NFL, that Nick Saban is doing what he thinks is best for that person long term. Even though you can't see it in the moment, that is the goal. And I think when I'm around people like that, owners, coaches, friends, you really don't have a right to just step away from it just because you were felt uncomfortable in a moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that 1,000%. I also feel like as an owner, as a coach, the longer I've been doing this, the more grace I give myself. Like I realize I am very imperfect. I make a lot of mistakes, both coaching, both making decisions, giving advice, talking, and I try to learn from it, but I try to improve and then keep moving. If I perseverate on any one thing, I've realized
Yeah.
it locks me up. So I think
Yeah.
for us as a group and as a gym, like we have to we have to acknowledge we are not always perfect with what we do, but we're moving and learning and and you just can't dwell on anything. You just get better.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say on that is that we make an effort to meet in person every month, and I'm
Yes.
pretty sure we haven't missed a meeting since.
Yes.
And we've moved them around, and now I'm doing that with Liz, and now we do that with Liz and Adam and I meet. Right? It's like when you get a face to face time and really talk things out. I think that's where the cloudiness of situations can disappear. It's
Yes.
not always positive. It's not always negative either. But I think the gray, the unknown is where the worst stuff happens.
Yes.
So if you can have a face-to-face conversation, I do think it kind of brings everything and everyone back to, okay, we are on the same team. We do want the same goal. You can't do that as a gym owner with every single employee or every single member of the gym, but you can try to make more FaceTime possible for everyone.
Yes.
And I think that's something I've learned in this fourth phase of being a gym owner is probably a lot more important than you initially think.
I would think that's the best tip is, like you said, in that fourth phase, if you are not sure, if it's cloudy, if you're having debates about business versus friendship and all that, like more communication, like you said, tends to clarify and make people better. So I really appreciate that. That's probably the best point actually out of the whole
Yeah.
thing, I would say,
Yeah.
out of this whole discussion. So is there anything else within this that you want to sort of leave us with from this discussion?
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I'll say, whether it's gym owner, owning business, pursuing your own goals, like I think no matter what, as things around you change, including this guy right here, right?
Yeah.
The passion, it needs to be real. It's got to be there. Is it 24/7, 365? Absolutely not. But you have to self-calibrate sometimes. Like, do you truly love it? Like, I'm so excited for Murph tomorrow, even though I'm probably going to be on 5 hours of sleep, right? And I can't wait for the Bison Bowl. I can't wait for next year's Open for a lot of different reasons. And I think you have to be honest with yourself about how passionate you are about pursuing that. Because if you fake it or you lie to yourself about it, I think it's going to have a negative impact on others. And the first thing we look for in the growth hiring stage is how much you're in it for other people. And that in it for other people, that flame is going to start to dampen a little bit because if you're faking it. So I think that needs to, every now and then you look inward and say like, all right, how much do I really love this and what it can be, even though the day-to-day you can struggle sometimes. And we go, that's just self-calibrate all the time. How much do you truly love it?
That is probably one of the best pieces of advice I should take to heart myself, and that resonates with me. So,
Awesome.
David, I know it's a little longer than 15. It's a double wide again. It's 33, but that's okay. I think there's a lot in here that I think was really important to unpack and think about. So, thank you so much, David. This episode will probably be released a week after Murph. So I would hope that by the time people listen to this, everyone has recovered. They feel awesome. Nobody ripped. It was a beautiful day. And thank you again. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Sam.